Hello, everybody, and welcome to my guide on how to make a lot of money in Software Inc. without developing software, or rather, I guess you could call these ways of different supplementary income. So let's start with research. Basically, when you go to develop a new piece of software, say a 2D editor, for example, you'll notice that there's a tech level. And what exactly tech level does, I think, is essentially generate expected interest in your product. If you go back many years, you'll see expected interest drops. So this is a way to generate expected interest, and I believe it also allows you to implement new features. I mean, as the tech level goes up, for example, in 1985, 3D unlocks, and then you can implement 3D features. You can create a 3D editor, and then network also unlocks in 1985, I believe. So these allow you to do things like, for example, implement new features. In an antivirus, for example, you'd need networking in 1985 in order to implement any of these features. So how do you research? Every January of a new year, that's when the new tech level is unlocked. So we just reached January 1990. So that means that the 1990 tech level will be unlocked. So essentially what you do is you click this research button, you click on which one you want, and then you press research. I've already done that for all 6 of the tech types, so that's in my queue right here. Now it's important to know this because I didn't actually know this when I started coding. You need people who have a level 3 in design skill in whatever you're researching. So for example, system. I have a team here, and it's Research System 3, okay? And there's 14 people on here, and as you can see, 13 of that 14 is probably the leader who doesn't have it. They all have level 3 in system design, because otherwise they're not able to actually research system tech. So that's really important. Whatever you're going to be researching, you want to make sure in the HR management that you choose high salary, a specialization in whatever they're going to be researching, and you only want designers, okay? So then what you do is, well, I like to put them on Crunch because they're only going to be on Crunch for a month or two anyway. And you go ahead and you let them research. Okay, so as you can see, we're back, and right now we just finished researching audio tech. So what you would do is you tap finish. It's going to ask you if you want to patent this new research you got. Of course you do. The reason why you want to patent it is because patents essentially are other companies having to pay you royalties in exchange for using this tech level. Any kind of 2D editor, any kind of program at all that uses, for example, 1982 through 1988 system tech has to pay us royalties. And you can see we've made hundreds of millions of dollars doing this, well over 200, maybe $300 million. And I don't even have the last 10 years. After 10 years, it goes into the public domain, which means that a tech level that's 10 years old, so it's 1990 right now, the 1980 system tech is in the public domain. I don't get paid royalties for that. However, anything that was made in the last 10 years, you will get paid royalties for. So I could be making another probably 200 million from the next 3 years of tech. So you always want to have a monopoly on whatever was the last 10 levels of tech in all of these categories. It's going to make you, when you put it all together and you see, I don't know, audio, network, 3D, 2D royalties, you're going to be making well over something around $500 million over the last 10 years, which is not bad. So then you click patent, and then for this stage, you're going to need a legal team. So I have a legal team here. I've got a couple of them, and legal employees need a level 3 in law. If they don't have a level 3 in law, they cannot apply for patents. So it's very important that in HR management, you set salary high and you choose law as the only specialization and you want service. Okay? So now they're going to go ahead and they're going to do that. They're going to apply for that patent, and I'll be right back when they're done doing that. Okay, so they're done. The patent's finished, and then at this stage, all you need to do is click patent, and it costs you about 50K, but that's pretty much nothing compared to the kinds of earnings you're going to be making, as you can see, in the tens of millions, even hundreds of millions for this one. It is important to note, and you may have seen when I went through these lists earlier, not every single tech level has equal profits. As you can see, 3D starts off with really low profits. That's because nobody's really using it in 1985. Nobody's really using it in 1986, you can see, and they only really started using it in 87. So in the mid 2000s, I believe that 3D will get a lot more profitable. But the one that pretty much every single kind of piece of software uses, and so the most important tech level to prioritize and then patent, in my opinion, is system. System is going to earn you by far the most, followed by 2D and audio. And 2D and audio, 2D may generally be phased out for 3D over the years, but audio will always be relevant. System will always be relevant. Hardware, in my opinion, isn't that much, but it's definitely worth it to do it for all of them. Because the other thing is that you have to consider is that if you make a product and it's using network tech, and another company has patented it, then you will have to pay them royalties. So it's definitely a smart thing to do to make sure you get it all by yourself. I mean, look at this. System Tech is 5% royalties. And I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that means that any software developed with System Tech that is patented, you will have to pay the company that patented it 5% of the earnings of that software. So that's how patenting and research works. So let's talk a little bit about hardware manufacturing. You can see here I've got some hardware manufacturing going on. And just for the sake of simplicity, I'm going to go ahead and turn on assembly lines and manufacturing mode so that you can see it more simply. How does hardware manufacturing work? And how do you make money off of it? Well, you can manufacture your own things, such as consoles, and by 1995, you can manufacture phones. So you can even change the way that your console looks, which is pretty cool. And they've got older designs, they've got newer designs. So you can mess around with that. You can implement new features. But what we're interested in here is this manufacturing. So if you wanted to manufacture a console, and this depends on the different features that you implement. So if we implemented these things, wireless communication and standardized input, it changes what you need to manufacture one of these. So the way that you would do it is once you are developing your product, you would click information and then you would click manufacturing on whatever kind of hardware that you are manufacturing, which is always going to be an OS for a phone or a console. And then that will give you this. And so now what you need to do is you basically just need to kind of like Factorio style, put down printers and put down assemblers in the order and of the variety that it wants you to do it in, right? So that's how it works. And the way that you can make money off of this without actually manufacturing your own things is by picking up contract work for manufacturing. Or you can even pick up deals for manufacturing. Some companies will pay you to do manufacturing jobs for them. And the profit can be quite large. I mean, for example, these guys are offering $96 per copy manufactured. And you can see it requires $80 per copy to manufacture them. And they're offering 408,000 that they want, right? So that means you're making a profit of $16 408,000 times. So you can, I'm not going to do the math, but you can see it can make you a lot of money. And the same thing goes for contracts. You can do it with these. And these are a little bit easier to calculate the amount of income. It'll just tell you directly. This one's going to make you 1.6 million for doing it. This will make you 900,000, right? This one's going to make you 600, and so on and so forth. The only thing to know about manufacturing is that it's really expensive to set up. I mean, you have to pay, these are $100,000 for assemblers, and the same thing goes for printers, $100,000. And then you're going to want recyclers, which are 5,000, and all these conveyor belts. So definitely don't start manufacturing until you have a good amount of money in storage or in the bank. Another reason why you don't want to have a lot of money when you start manufacturing is because you don't actually make any money until the products have been shipped to the buyer. And it's very expensive. So you're going to be spending something like $2 million to manufacture all this stuff. And if you don't have at least, $2 million in the bank, then you've just gone in debt. And until it's actually delivered from here, or if you've got couriers that you're working with, you're not going to get paid. And then you might go bankrupt by accident. So just keep that in mind. You definitely want to have a little bit of money before you start manufacturing for a couple different reasons. So next we're going to talk about digital distribution. Digital distribution is another way that you can earn quite a bit of money. You can actually see right here. So I've got a platform called Vapor, and you can see if you look at distribution, I'm making around $218,000 a month from this store. And that will go up over time. When you're in the early 2000s and mid 2000s and 2010s, digital distribution is going to be a much larger market, right? Like right now, it's not really worth that much because there's not that many people in February of 1990 who are buying things online, or at least not buying software online, right? So keep that in mind. As you play, this will become far more profitable. But I mean, I've got 67% of the market share here, and I'm only making 218,000. If you had 67% of the digital market share in 2018, you'd probably be making millions. But this is definitely one way that you can do that. And to do it, what you would need to do is you need to click on digital distribution, develop a platform, implement the features that you want. And just for the sake of digital distribution, I definitely recommend doing all the features because that's the only thing that's going to get you an expected interest of 100%. Another reason why you should do all the features is because it's going to increase the lifespan of your digital distribution platform. These actually will start to lose a lot of market share, and you'll see the features and quality go down over the years. And then that's when you'll need to develop a new one. But don't worry, because all of your users of the old one will automatically switch over to the new one as if it's an update. But you'll still need to go through the development process. So just keep that in mind. So now we're going to talk about stocks. Stocks is another great way to make quite a bit of money. And The ideal way to go about doing this, in my opinion, is to find whatever company was founded most recently and buy up all their shares. That's what you want to do. Because companies that are founded very recently tend to do a lot better and they tend to have pretty explosive growth. And so you can see I own actually in this particular save the max amount of shares in every single company. Every company that has shares for sale, save for a few, I guess, I own all of their shares that are on sale. And you can go ahead and take a look here and see that I'm earning 266,000 last month from dividends, 538,000 before that, 800 almost thousand before that. So you're going to make a couple million a year just off dividends. And another great thing about them is that you can always sell them. If you've got something going on, if you're pressed for cash, you can go ahead and sell some stocks. They usually increase in value, so it's a great place to put your money. You can see sometimes that's not always the case. A lot of these companies have lost me money, but in this particular save, I've got a lot, so I just invest because I want the control, not necessarily just the profits. It's also a great way to stick your fingers in the pie, so to speak, and make sure that if your competitors have a project coming out and it's going to directly compete with yours, you at least get some small cut of the profit. Another thing that you can do in terms of investment is going to insurance and investments, and then going to the stock screen. This is another way to try and make some money, and it's going to essentially, these are all just going to fluctuate. As far as I can tell, these are not in-game companies. So as far as I can tell, this is pretty much just RNG. So maybe late game, if you've got a lot of money and you want to just kind of test something out, then maybe you'd try this. I'm not really sure. I haven't used it too much, but it's something that you can definitely do in order to make money. Now I'm going to talk about deals. So deals are another thing that you can do, and they're kind of like contracts, but better. If I were you, I would take contracts for the first part of the game, and then I really wouldn't rely on them unless maybe you want this income from manufacturing. Maybe you're using it to discover lead designers, which you can do. In fact, I have a team dedicated for that in this save, and I basically just give them contract work to determine the inspiration levels of low salary employees who are like in their 20s, so that I have them on my team for the foreseeable future, for the rest of the save, really. But other than that, usually contracts aren't really worth it. And they also make it very, very difficult to get your business wrap up later. So what I would do is I'd switch to deals. Now, in order to take a deal, you need to have a receptionist, as a tooltip says, and then companies will come to you and they will offer you deals, right? And so these can range from asking for that you to support their products. They can ask you to develop their products, to design them. They can ask you to host them, to manufacture them, to market. There's all sorts of different things, and you can actually see in the filter everything that's possible. Sometimes companies here will actually even ask you if they can buy one of your IPs, which can be really, really profitable. So just keep that in mind. Deals are a great way not just only to make money, but also to boost your business rep to 6 stars, which is crucial for a plethora of different things. Deals will also allow you to do manufacturing and printing, which allows you to put your printers and hardware manufacturing system to use so that they're not just kind of wasting money and depreciating. So that's how deals work. Another way that you can make money, or rather, I guess, save money, is through the accounting screen. There's a couple different things that you can do here. When your business is smaller, you can try and evade taxes through accounting. You can follow the little cycle here. I'm not going to walk you through it, and buy precious metals and then store them in an offshore account and then funnel them back into your company at the risk of being audited and having illegal activity uncovered, which I haven't actually seen what that does. But once you get to a really big size, like in the billions, I think this is really hard to do because you're only buying these metals in a $1 million installment. So it definitely won't be as profitable then to do that. I wouldn't recommend doing it ever, honestly. It's not really worth it. It requires probably a lot of micro, and you might get in trouble with the law. And as well, the taxes in this game are not that insane, even in the city, which is the highest tax rate. So, but it's up to you. That is one way you can do it. But another way to save money here is tax optimization. When a tax report is filed, when a tax report is done, any employees that are working on accounting will work on what is called tax optimization. And essentially that just saves you money. That just is money saved. I mean, you can see it going up right there. So this year, I'm already saving $36,000 on my taxes. I'm supposed to be paying 165,785,000, but as this goes up, I will save this amount of money off of my taxes pretty much. And I've never seen this go over a couple million, but still, a couple million a year is well worth it, and it definitely has the finance department's salaries pay for itself. So that's another way that you can kind of make some money. Now, the last thing that I'm going to talk about is subsidiaries. So when you have a lot of money, or maybe even when you just have a little bit, depending on, if you can find a company that's not worth that much, you can take over a company. Now, to do this, you need at least 50.1% of all of their shares. So you can see this company, I have 50.5. It's a pretty cheap company, so I could do what's called takeover. And then the game will ask you, do you want them as a subsidiary or do you want to take them over? The difference is basically if you take them over, the company is gone. You spent this amount of money and the company's gone, and you now own any of their products and their IPs, and that's about it. Everything is gone. Or you can make them a subsidiary. So these have their uses. Having a subsidiary is pretty nice because subsidiaries are basically an extension of you. Their money is your money. So in this particular state, you can see I have these subsidiaries. One of them is worth $68 million. So what you can do is you can just come over here and you can just withdraw any amount of money from them up to that amount. I could take all 68 million, now that would bankrupt them, or I could just take 45 million, and that's going to severely hamper them, but it's going to make me quite a lot of money. So what I like to do is, and the amount of subsidiaries that you can own is dictated by how many stars you have on your business rep. So 6 stars equals 6 subsidiaries, and that's the max. I like to buy as many subsidiaries as possible, and then I like to pour money into them because what I find is they will make a lot of money if you give them a lot of money. Now, in fact, you can see in this save, this is another couple years in the future on the same save file. We are now up to 8.7 billion. You can see I did pretty well for myself, and I have 4 billion of that in subsidiaries. Half of my entire net worth is in subsidiaries. So you can see some of them are worth quite a lot. I mean, look at Jazzware Interactive is worth $683 million. So that's a huge pool of wealth that you can draw from at any time. And as I said, the more that you give them money, the more that they will make. All of my subsidiaries are actually the most valuable companies in the game, pretty much, aside from these three. So you can see, and that's because I basically just poured as much cash as possible into them. So subsidiaries are a great way to make money. I think that covers everything. So if you have any questions, let me know in the comments below. But otherwise, thank you for watching.